I don't have I'm sorry, I don't have the agenda in front of me. Hold on. Do we have the Pledge of Allegiance? Is that on the agenda?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, that's it, Kathleen. The pledge is next.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. All right, Matt, would you do the pledge for us, please?
Sure. Pledge allegiance to the flag,
To the flag, United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands,
stands
one nation,
nation,
indivisible, liberty, and
liberty, and
justice.
justice for all.
Okay. And Danielle, are you going to share your screen with the presentation?
Yep, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And one of the things before we get into the presentation that we're going to need to grapple with this evening is that the fuel prices as of today went up to $2.85 a gallon.
Oof.
The budget reflects $2.50 a gallon. Bob does have the figures of the increase if we want to make that adjustment. Just so you know, Bill Birch and Amy have decided not to lock in yet the cost of fuel. Hoping that it'll come back down, but I don't know if the board wants to make an adjustment to the budget to increase it because of that variance between the 250 in the budget and the current price at 285. So we come to a slide actually in the presentation where we made a little bit of an adjustment, but we would have to go back in and change a few slides to reflect if you decide to go up the other 35 cents a gallon.
Okay. Anybody want to have some discussion on this? I am going to say, let's leave it as it is for now. I understand there's some huge turmoil going on in the world right now that are going to make the fuel prices go up, and they're very volatile as we speak right now. But by June, God only knows where they'll be. Hopefully things will, let's see where we are in, we have at least 2 months, and we're going to be making changes anyway, probably later. So let's see where we are when we get a little bit further into the budget process. Is that okay with everyone?
Yep.
It's okay for all of you to unmute yourselves unless you've got rock music playing in the background. So that you can speak out. This is more.
What is the town putting in there?
They're waiting for us.
Okay.
So we have 250 at this point in time, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Amy did also say that she asked if we had our budget finalized. I told her we had a workshop scheduled for this evening and then one for the 28th if need be. She was hoping to get the number tomorrow, and I said I couldn't say that we would have the number settled tomorrow. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. Well, let's leave it at 250 for now. I understand that the prices are rising and rising and rising. But we can always change it.
Okay.
I think it might be better to budget for more because I believe it is going to go up significantly. To estimate on the low side would be probably not wise.
All right, that's fair. But what would be?
I go along with Matt. I think we should go with the higher.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
Okay, then what would you suggest that we throw out a number? I know I just paid 3 something for regular gas, so 340 something.
Bob does have a spreadsheet and he can show you. Danielle, do you have that spreadsheet?
Yeah, I do. I'd have to take a moment to find it though on my computer.
So currently, the price that Bill got today was $285 from the consultant.
Okay.
Maybe we just put it in at 285 then. But I think it's gonna go higher than that.
The sheet that I have is at 289.
Okay.
289?
Okay.
And Bob, that represented about a $70,000 or $73,000 increase, wasn't it?
Well, over last year, 289 equals 112, 217 over last year. For heating oil, and for diesel and gas, it's almost an extra 30 grand over last year. So if we went from 250 to 289, the additional cost in the additional budget hit would be just $56,003 would be the additional cost, and that increases your increase request would then go to up here. It would be 3.86 as opposed to the number that we had that we put together on Valentine's Day, which was 3.55.
Okay, well
So-
then, I don't like putting things at 289s, and I'm a rounded number person. So since we don't know the exact number, we could put it in for 290, and if you think it's gonna go higher, you could put it in for $3.
So the
Okay.
pricing update that we actually got from the consultant that Bill shared with Bob and I today is heating oils at 2.85, diesel fuel is at 2.87, and gasoline is at 2.82.
Well, then put it in for 2.85,
At what point does it get locked in?
whenever.
When a decision is made by Bill and Amy and I to lock it in, it's one of those things where 1 year, we waited a bit too long and we locked it in at a higher rate. Bill wants to wait. It seems like the correspondence that came back from Amy, she would like to wait. You just don't know because it's so volatile at this moment, what's going to happen. So we're not getting any good guidance from the consultant because she doesn't know either.
Well, is it safe to say that we're not going to see the price? Can somebody put that screen back up for a minute? We're not going to see the $1.80 or the $1.75 anytime soon.
Nope.
So I understand about waiting, but if this thing goes up higher and we have to lock in, like, what is the drop dead date to lock in? Is it summer? Is it June?
There, I can answer that, Melinda. There's not really any drop dead date. I mean, you could pay the current rate if once the supply is up in June 30th and you go to July 1st, you would end up paying the current rate.
The rate is.
And right now the rate, I mean, I just did home heating fuel and it was $3.69 a gallon. So, I mean, at $2.89, that's still a hell of a bargain. I'm just wondering what's the downside of not locking in, considering all of the issues that are going on.
Well, the difference between what you pay at home, it's got all the taxes on it.
Yeah.
We're tax exempt. So we're paying whatever we're paying the futures rate on it. So there's not the taxes on it. So there's a considerable difference.
Right. But I'm just wondering, I mean, again, that $2.89 is probably still going to be conservative, even if it's 4 months, 5 months down the road, because let's face it, the whole thing going on in Ukraine, and all that, that's not going to end anytime soon. And it's, I would just hate to be stuck at like 350, 360. I don't know. It's just another way to look at it.
I agree with Tom. And it's tough that global global issues are, making the local decisions more difficult than they already are.
It's true.
Well, I mean, if the board wants to advise me to have Bill lock in, I can certainly do that.
I think it's something we should consider, Kathleen, whether we wait a week. I mean, I don't know, but I just don't, I think we're on a pipe dream if we think we're gonna be below $2 anytime soon.
No, I don't. We're already got 250 in the budget. 250
Yeah,
in
I
the
mean,
budget.
sorry, I still think 250 is,
I don't think we're ever, I don't know. I'm not an expert in this, Tom.
Yeah.
I really don't, I don't know. And you're right. We're not going to resolve this. This Ukraine issue is going to cause a lot of disruption. But I don't know that it won't be resolved prior to. I have to defer to Bill
yeah,
because he's got a lot of years experience in this, but this whole Ukraine Russia thing is so out of everybody's bailiwick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get him on the phone and then you can gear him.
Yeah, because I would say we could put it in at 285 if this is what the consultants are saying. It's between 282 and 287. I would say 285. Or put it in at 290, put it in at $3. We don't know what's going on.
it's one of those, Kathleen, where you'd like to see the chart over the last, in week increments, over a week. What has it been doing,
Well,
I'm gonna put you on speaker. The board is having a conversation around fuel oil prices, obviously, because they're trying to adjust the budget, and whether or not we should be locking in or not. So could you give them an overview that you gave me this morning? And I'm gonna put you close to the computer so they can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So fuel oil. I think Bob put the numbers together for you. What fuel oil is today.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was after what you gave me earlier today, so they went up a little bit.
Yeah, so they've probably gone up a little bit since then, and then I personally think they're going to continue to go up. I'm not a futures trader, so I'm no expert by any means, but I think they're going to continue to go up at least for a while, and at least until whatever happens in Eastern Europe happens and gets resolved. But we're under no obligation to sign a contract with anybody, and we're under no obligation to lock in with anybody. So historically, oil goes down in the fall, goes up in the winter, goes down in the spring usually, and then it generally goes way down like July, first week of August, around that point. So if we didn't lock into anything, then what would happen is as we came to, next July, August, whatever, then we'd pay the daily rate. Whatever oil was that day is what we would pay. Even if things go south in Eastern Europe, I think it's going to be short term. It's going to, because what's going to happen is they're going to shut off the flow of oil coming from Russia, but then either they will open up the taps in Alaska and Saudi Arabia and even Iraq and Iran. There's oil in other places, and that'll just give those people an opportunity to sell it. I wouldn't lock in at 289 or whatever it is at this point today. I would sit tight and gamble it. But then again, as I said earlier, I'm not a futures trader, so just guys can take that for what it's worth.
Mhm. But what do you think we should put in the budget? Well, we've got 250 in there now. What would you be?
Yeah. So Kathleen, as of today,
Yeah.
it was at, I think the last number I saw today was like 289.
Yeah.
Mhm.
you might want to go higher than that. You might want to go, I don't know, $3.25. And just, and when you make the pitch to the Board of Finance, just tell them that oil number is a moving target right now. It could go down, it could go up, but we don't really know.
Okay. All right, thank you. Jess, Jess, you have a question?
What is the process if we were to lock in? Is there a way to get out of that later if we were to see the prices come down? No? Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
No, you pay penalties and.
Okay.
We walk in, we sign a contract to buy 107,000 gallons of oil at whatever price it is that day we lock in.
Okay.
And we're obligated to do that then.
I mean, we may be shooting ourselves in the foot by not locking it at 289. Who knows? It's a crapshoot.
We know there was, but there was a time, the last time fuel was this expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It got to be April, May.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very expensive at that point. And, there was some that said, gee, we should lock in, we should lock in, we should lock in. We didn't. And then like the middle of July, it dropped and we managed to get a pretty good deal at that point.
Right. And that's, we don't know what's going on. We've never been we haven't for a long time been in the situation where we are with Russia, Ukraine, and well, we have with Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia. I mean, we've been in this situation before, only different parts of the world. So who knows? World War III could break out tomorrow. I don't know. Who knows? I hate to say it, but.
So what's the date that our contract runs out? We're good at the reduced price until when?
June 30th.
Till when?
June 30th. And then there's, depending on the weather. So depending on the weather, if it stays reasonably mild through the rest of the winter and into the spring, then we might not burn that 107,000 gallons. So normally I sell it back. So we don't burn it all. And we might have, I don't know, just say we have 20,000 gallons left over we didn't burn. We sell it back to the distributor and they give us whatever wholesale price is at that point, or what we paid, whichever is least. But we don't have to, we can save it. So if we had 20,000 left over at $1.75, that's still ours, and we have to pay them a storage fee to store it. But it's nominal compared to, $3 a gallon where we are right now. So there's that possibility too, that if we conserve some, if we have good weather, we won't have any, we don't sell back what we don't use. We'll have that at a reduced price to at least keep the tanks full, and that could get us as far as September, October.
And then we could buy on the spot market, right?
Then and we could buy on the spot market until we see what we think is a good enough deal to lock in, and then we would lock in for some. If we don't, if we don't come up with a deal until say September, October, well then instead of 107,000 gallons, maybe we buy 80,000 gallons. We'll figure out, we take a best guess of what we're going to need.
So do we get to negotiate separately, or does this have to be done with the town? And once one buys, we all buy, or is it a you buy, they buy?
So we can negotiate separately. We've done that in the past. I would say probably the past 3 or 4 years at least, the town has opted to buy with us. But we don't necessarily have to.
So hearing all of what Bill said, it makes it sound like you guys have been doing this quite a while, and maybe we should wait. Half of me, I'm not by nature a gambling person, so half of me says take the 289. But I, listening to Bill, it sounds like we do have some options and we do have some time. But for the budget, maybe we should put it to 289 in the budget.
Well, I don't like the 89. That's what I'm saying. You want to put
290.
290? You want to put $3 in? I like round numbers, that's all. 289 makes me feel like we know what we're going to pay for it. We don't. So put a round number in there. Let's put $3 then. I mean, hey, no, don't. I'm just saying that, that's a nice round number, but like that looks like you actually know what you're really going to pay for this thing. Well, we don't.
Kathleen, to your point, if we did put it at $3, what does that do to the number? Like, what is it?
At this point, Tom, we're putting in our best actual guess. A budget, and we may be lowballing it according to Bill. Who knows?
Right, but if it does go in at 3, what does that do to our overall?
That's what Bob was, or who was doing that? Danielle, are you doing this?
No, I'm sure Bob has already got it calculated.
Like we're currently sitting at.
So if you add another 50 cents, to fuel oil, you're at 250, you're gonna put it at 3. That's gonna bring you up another $52,500 for fuel oil. I'm not sure what it's gonna do for diesel and gasoline, because I don't have those numbers in front of me.
Well,
They were the same, Bill.
Who's got the spreadsheet going?
Yeah, the additional cost is it over the 250, actually over what we have in the budget. It's total cost is it's 71,621 over the current proposal.
On the total spreadsheet.
Yeah. It's a $157,000 increase over last year.
157 versus the 141.
Yep.
And
Okay.
that changes our current ask to the town by what's the percentage?
I'm gonna tell you right now, Tom.
All right.
It might be all right.
It's just whatever we end up putting in for a number on the fuel, we should make sure Amy knows so she can do the same on her budget.
Correct.
So we're both aligned.
You're
Yeah,
absolutely-
I'll text her.
Mm.
It's 749,860 is the increase. And it's a 3.8% increase over last year. As
But I
opposed
think
to,
he was,
What is it? I got
it is,
749, 360, and the percentage is what?
the percentage is 3.8.
Okay, we're still under 4%, so that's
I
good.
mean, and if you do it another digit, it's 3.79.
3.79. Well, that's even better.
I extrapolated out to 6 digits.
No.
So do we know what's the mill equal to this year? Is it like 670,000 or something is a mill?
I don't know that number yet. We don't know that number yet.
All right, but either way, we're asking for more than 1%,
1
mean,
million.
a 1 mil increase.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
They're not gonna get it to us, so don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, but hey, we need to ask for it. That's our state of mind. That's our story. We need it.
is everyone finished with Bill? I'll hang him up if you're done.
Okay, now Valentine is signed on.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, have a good night, everybody.
And
You
thank
too,
you,
Bill.
Bill. Okay, so it's all agreed that we are going to raise, I need a motion on this, I think. We vote, we just it, but I'd like to make it official. Let's have a motion to increase the fuel, oil, and the gasoline price by 50 cents to $3 from $2.50, and that'll increase the budget. So do I have a motion?
This is Linda, so moved.
I will,
Second?
Matt.
Okay, Matt seconds. I have a motion and a second. I think we discussed it to death, but is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll put the motion to the floor for a vote, to the board for a vote. All in favor of increasing the fuel price by 50 cents in the budget, say aye.
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 All, any opposition, say no. Hearing none, any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. So Bob, you can make that adjustment, please. Get it. All right. Next order of business, presentation.
Danielle, did you want to, Kathleen, do you want Danielle to scroll through them and we'll stop at the
Yes,
slides?
yeah. You walk us through it, please, Melinda, because you're familiar with where
All
you.
right.
Mhm.
So obviously the title page, the next page is the members of the Board of Ed.
Now, do we need to show, well, we need to show the title page, obviously, but do we need to show all of the,
You
We
can
need
click
to
all the way
show
through these. Danielle, get to page, the district advantages. That would be slide 13. So what we did on slide 13 is where it says the district continues to gain external recognition for its accomplishment.
Mhm.
Put a hyperlink there. And Danielle, if you click on that, will it take you to the Google page?
I don't know if it'll do it from my screen, but I can pull up what it would look like, but I have to take this presentation down to do that.
Okay, so that might be something that folks want to take a look at, but some of it was some of the recognition that our teachers have received, something from our staff, our students doing the Voice for Change grant. So we have a list of things there, and as we move along in the budget process, if we come along other recognitions that we want to put up there, we can add it. That
Okay.
when somebody clicks on that hyperlink, it'll take them to that sheet.
Mhm.
So then the next slide is the dashboard, which will be adjusted tomorrow, dependent upon if the board settles on whatever the overall increase is. We'll adjust that. And then Danielle will have to go back in and she will have to adjust slide 15 because it is, all those numbers are going to change a little bit.
Well, yes, I think we all understand that, Melinda, so.
Okay, and then for slide 16, we wanted to clean that slide up about the primary budget drivers and then put in what were those total increases. So obviously we're going to have to adjust the fuel heating oil section. But overall, put in all those projected increases that you wanted to see on that slide. And slide 17 didn't change. Slide 18 will have to change because of the increase. And the same with 19 and 20. No, overall contributions to the budget, yeah, that'll adjust a little bit.
Linda, can you go back, or whoever's running that, can you go back? I think it's slide 17. One more. Nope, one more, 16 then. On the insurance part, can you refresh my memory? Did we say that the 8% was already an inflated rate? Or did we?
No.
It wasn't.
No, that's the actual rate that we just recently received. It's not a locked-in rate. We won't know that till April. But this is their best guess at this time.
So is this another situation where maybe we should put it in higher, Kathleen, and hope for lower?
I
No?
don't believe so, Tom. I think this is what they're saying is this is.
The state
correct me if
average or
I'm
whatever?
wrong, Melinda, but I believe this is what they're saying is what they're projecting. This is their projection. And
Right, they
they're
did-
not saying it will come in higher.
Yeah, and that is actually what Bob put in the budget originally, was the 8% increase.
Right.
Bob, you haven't received any new correspondence from anyone about the healthcare, have
Till the
you?
1st of April.
Right,
But that number that they gave us was, you know, the worst case scenario, but it's not going to go down.
Right, but there's no indication that they're going to increase it, is there?
No, I think that was top end, but that
Okay.
was also bottom end.
Oh,
It's like,
this is it, basically. Okay.
yeah,
Okay, all right.
Mhm.
so Danielle, if you can advance to slide number 21.
Mhm.
And so those are the federal and state grants. We try to clean that slide up a little bit. And then the next slide is the ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funding, which is ESSER 3 is ARP. And then we just listed what the total amounts that we received and what those grants are covering.
Mhm.
So that's just a list of everything that is being covered by those grants. I know some folks might be interested in that. And then the next slide, 23, there was a notation that we wanted to put, when do these grants renew? So IDEA, you can see Title I, those renew annually, and we're given an allocation from the state. And then our current Alliance District, our Alliance funding will end on 2023. It was a 2-year grant. ESSER 2 ends on 2023, and ARP ends on 2023. There's some talk at the national level that they might extend that, but we've seen nothing from the State Department of Ed that tells us that that's going to be extended at all. And quite frankly, we're fairly well on track to spending all that money anyway. Then the next slide, the only thing we kept out of Turtle Out Memorial High School, we kept that one slide. We kind of condensed that slide, and then we have all the other slides in for talking points. Same
Melinda,
with the middle.
Linda, can I stop you, please, before we
Yeah.
go? On the grants, now the Alliance grant and the, go back to the grants, please. I'm
That
sorry.
one.
The ESSER 2 and the ARP, are those going to become legacy costs once they expire? These are questions I think I'm trying to, that the Board of Finance may ask you. Because there's 5 teachers and they're paying for a social worker. Are these going to become legacy costs for us?
So the social worker will definitely be a legacy cost.
Mhm.
As far as some of the teachers on ARP, some of them are working on curriculum. It would be great to be, especially in mathematics, to hang on to a curriculum leader in math, but I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but those aren't critical to remain after the grant funding goes away, because by then all the curriculum documents should be updated. The goal around instructional practice and implementation of the curriculum is a whole other conversation, but I don't know in another year or two, the district will be able to absorb that. But the social worker at the high school is a real critical position that we would need to hang on to.
Okay, and the support coordinator, that also.
So that's Alliance, and my hope is that since now the language is in the legislative language, that after the 2 years of funding, that we are refunded after that. So that is a position that is another position that's under a grant, but I have more positive feelings about that getting renewed and being able to support that with grant funds. But you're right, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, but our ultimate goal is to get out of being an Alliance district.
It is, but we're not going to get out overnight. It's going to take years from now to get out of that alliance. So,
Okay, these
Yes.
are talking points that I'm just, trying to get ahead of, just
okay,
in case the Board of Finance has questions like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, these are anticipated questions.
and I can answer those pretty easily. But the social worker would be something that the board should consider maintaining.
Yeah,
at the
so
high school.
in next year's budget, we're gonna have an increase of the social worker plus that $48,000 salary plus benefits. Well, the benefits are already in the,
The benefits are also on the grant. That's just the salary.
okay, so, well, shouldn't then that 48,000 be the total of her salary or his salary plus the benefits?
Yeah, Bob, I think you put this slide together, so I guess we need to add the benefits on this slide.
Yeah, and the same with the teacher, the same with all of the, well, no, the idea doesn't cover benefits, does it? Just the salary.
Right. The IDEA just covers salary.
Salary.
619 is salary. Title I is salary. ESSER 2, I can add those on. That'd be another 20 grand
All right,
each.
right, but the ESSER, and what about ARP? Does that include, did we?
Yes, it
include-
does.
For
Yes,
those, well, those are subs, permanent subs or substitute teachers to cover for curriculum.
yeah, for 3 of them. And then
Yeah.
there is remember that ARP also has the second year of the social worker in it. So,
If their benefits are included in that grant, they should be added to this slide, and you could put plus benefits, there's the salary plus benefits equal.
Sure.
And the alliance should show how much that, because we're gonna have to pick up some of this as legacy cost in our 2024 next year's budget.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
It's not gonna change any numbers in this year's budget. It's just gonna show that how much these grants have actually covered. The goal here is to be fully transparent.
You got it.
Thank you.
so Danielle, yeah, and then these are the high school slide. And then we have the other slides for talking point. Same with Marriott Fisher,
Currently, what is our high school graduation rate?
81.7%.
81.7%? That's low. What happened?
We had a lot of dropouts.
Well, yeah, no kidding, but all right.
We had a lot of students failing, and hence the support coordinator.
Okay.
Have Abby actually come to the next board meeting to go over the work that she's done and the students that she's got up to grade level, so that they can graduate with their class. That number is pretty phenomenal in the work that they've done in a short time. So, yeah.
For that board meeting, for our next board meeting, can we go back maybe 10 years and look at that graduation rate? Because Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, we had a pretty high or a pretty decent graduation rate when I first got on the board. And a lot of this, some of this can be blamed on COVID, or does it go back prior to that?
It goes back a little bit prior to that, but we found some situations this year where students walked at graduation, but didn't finish their requirements, and so they never received their diploma. We came across the diploma in a drawer up at the high school, and then we had to record them as dropouts, which significantly impacted that graduation rate.
Oh.
Yeah.
But if it isn't a horrible thing, and if we could go back sometime and get the rate and see what, that would be a
We
good,
have-
interesting thing to have, just in our hip pocket to have as a, maybe in the appendix.
There's,
not-
I mean, not to get into it, I mean, we really should get into it at some point, but there was not a lot of oversight on catching these kids before, soon enough before they started to go down the slippery slope of failing. And then once they're down failing 3-4 classes, very difficult to come back, right? Make up all that work, and then the pandemic hit, and it snowballed. But yeah, we can get those rates over time, and the good news is that they have a complete handle on what's going on up there now. And those kids that are, at risk for failing or at risk for not graduating with their class, there are plans in place. Families have been, in meetings with the students intact. There are specific learning plans for each of these kids. I'm pretty happy about how they've been addressing those failure rates, because that stops the slippery slide to not graduating. So Abby will do, she'll give you the comparative graduation rate and then the work that they're doing now.
That's terrific. Thank you. Sorry to keep interrupting, but.
No, it's fine. So these are the middle school, these are the middle school slides. And then of course I have the slides in the back for talking points. We wanted to keep the slides concise. And then when we get to special education, the couple of slides that you really wanted to condense was the slide about special education programs required by federal law. And these are the federal laws that guide special education. So if anyone has a question about what those laws are, they can look up any of these. And Chris had a lot of narrative with that. So we just condensed it down to what are those laws.
Great.
And then on the next slide, the only thing, Danielle, is that we have 27 out of district or 3%. That's still accurate.
Okay, because this is as of January 1st, so we could update this slide to the March 1st or February 1st.
Yeah, okay.
If it doesn't take too much, March 1st would be a great one to update it to, just so that when we do present, I believe we're presenting on March 3rd, March 4th. What date are we presenting?
Right.
It'll be the latest and the greatest.
Right.
Yeah. Which Thursday, March 3rd. But if that's too disruptive, then it would be February, whenever the latest date you can get the package together for the Board of Finance. I know we have to have the numbers to the town when March 1st.
March 1st. Amy was really hoping that we could get it to her as soon as possible. She's trying to build the budget. So she asked me today. So
Okay.
I don't know if you're going to be ready for that, but.
Well, if we go through this tonight, I don't know what the rest of the board is thinking, but if we are happy with the number, we've discussed the fuel, we've just, if we're happy with the number, we're happy with the presentation, there's no reason we can't approve this tonight to go forward. We have one more meeting scheduled for the 28th.
Don't you have to vote on it though, Kathleen?
We can vote on it tonight. Why can't we vote on it tonight?
Don't we have to, does that have to be posted anywhere or are we covered?
We're having a meeting tonight, right?
Is it a special meeting?
This is a special meeting.
And you can't. It has to be warned as such that for the action, and the only actions
Okay,
that
well,
you
then
can
we'll
take.
call a special meeting. Well, we have a meeting for the 28th,
Right.
right?
I think what she wants to know is what the percent increase is. I think she's trying to figure.
Okay.
So as long as that, you know, as long,
You can vote on it on the 28th.
okay,
So then update this as of the 28th and vote on it.
okay.
I won't be at that meeting.
All right, Danielle, the next slide is the district special ed courses budget versus actual. It's a nice slide that shows that we increase our budget every year in special ed. And then as of 2/8/22, and I'm sure we can update this because I'm sure it's changed. It is our special education numbers, IEPs, 504s. Then how many staff are providing services to those students. So 304 students in-house and 46 staff that are servicing those students. That includes teachers, as you can see, paraprofessionals and support service providers. And then the next slide goes over the special ed allocations. And then the special ed initiatives. And what we did was we added, he had a whole slide on transition program, which we all know is important to talk about, but we added it as an ongoing initiative on this slide. And then, of course, you know, we have the samples in the back that talk about, you know, the benefits of having the Bradley program. And then the benefits of the transition program are on the next slide. And it just to give an overview of, by putting in our own program in-house, the cost of VoIP is significantly reduced. I say that backwards. I might have. And then a couple pictures of the transition room. And then just the tech department's goals. And then we did put in the slide about the facilities department, although the only thing, we didn't include any of these in our budget. Amy did call today to ask for the cost of refurbishing the locker room. So I think she wants to push that forward in her budget. But the other things are things we'd like to do, but we didn't include in this budget.
Well, didn't she discuss with us about putting in the culinary arts? I know we're getting the 100,000. She did.
Yeah, so she did talk about that, but I don't know if what she's planning on doing as far as going out to bond for other town. Like I'm not up on that, so I don't know.
She may have forgotten all about it, tell you the truth. She's got a lot of things going on too. So why don't you remind her of at least that one?
Okay. I'll send her this slide tomorrow.
Okay,
Have her take a look at it.
okay, thank you.
And then, of course,
Can I ask a quick question
Sure.
about the culinary arts? I think you probably mentioned this back when it first came up. The 274, is that before or after the $100,000 grant?
that's before the 100,000, so it's down to 174,805.
Excellent. Thank you.
You know, and one of the things that we're looking at, obviously, we're drawing down from ESSER 2 in the ARP money, and making sure that, we're spending all those dollars. If there are dollars left in that grant, we might want to apply it toward this. Bill has every intention in June to gut the room and use the 100,000 that we have currently in place to, I think, put in the commercial floor and some of the equipment that we can afford, and then continue on the project as we can. Dr. Mayo had a meeting today with QBCC. They're not going to be ready with an instructor this upcoming year. They're making other alignments, which I'll have him talk about, with other pathways. But so we have a year to kind of get the space ready, which is good news for us because it might take us that time. So I will send this slide to Amy tomorrow and tell her that that was locker room cost. And then these were the other things that we did not add to our budget.
Thank you.
And I think the next slide kind of talks about the Culinary Arts program. And then we didn't know what we were going to do with this swing project at Mary R. Fisher. The PTO raised money. It's about, I guess, I don't know, 10, 12,000 for the swing. However, the site work to put in that swing is $50,000. So that's been out there for a while now. I don't know where we're going with that. I don't know if we want to keep it on this slide at all. So, but that's what it would cost to install a ADA compliant swing.
Do we really, I mean, I understand that they've been very generous in offering us this swing. And we certainly appreciate the fact that they offered the swing. One, do we need the swing? Would it, I mean, help me out here, other members of the board. $50,000 just to do the site work is a lot of money, which we don't have.
No, it's a shame because it's the old saying, you know, nothing that's free is ever free.
Well, I know, but they're very generous of raising the money, but I'm under the impression, and Jess, don't get me wrong here, and don't take it wrong. We appreciate this very much, but the swing itself is somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000.
The last quote I got was 12 and change, and that included for the company to do the actual install itself.
Yeah.
It included the rubber kick mats at the bottom, along with the barrier and the ADA ramp to get in there. But if we were to just purchase the swing and put it, and Bill's team were to install it themselves, I believe the last quote without them doing the installation was 10,300.
Okay, so
but the swing was requested by, at that point, I believe it was Mr. Sugarman, because this has been an ongoing, back then for those students with disabilities to be able to use playground equipment.
okay.
And believe me, we are going to have students that are in a wheelchair and can't have access to the playground. That's just inevitable. That's going to happen, and at some point, that expense will become a reality because we'll have somebody that can't access the playground.
Okay, so we're going to need to spend this money. So what do you do? Swap this out for painting the lockers again?
Well, I don't think so. The lockers are in really tough shape.
Right, so this is what I mean. It's we can't afford this again this year, but then they've already raised the money. You just correct me if I'm wrong.
Right, we have the money sitting in our PTO account to purchase the swings. It's the playground, the issue is, the quote's gone up multiple times just due to cost of material. The concern is that funding was raised by students that were in the district back in 2019. And at this point in time, those students now aren't seeing the benefit of their fundraising because the project, because of the scope of what this is. So the concern I have, not even as, aside from, unfortunately I wear too many hats. The concern I have is we have parents that put in an awful lot of work for this fundraising, and now their kids really aren't going to see any of the benefit of that. But they were doing that fundraising under the guise of, we're going to be putting in a swing. So I'm kind of split down the middle. I don't know.
Right, but you also can't keep that money forever because
Right.
because of the tax implications or your
Correct.
tax non-profit implications. So somehow or other, we got to get the swing installed. So maybe we can do, you guys know, maybe the PTO does another fundraising project, but that's not going to get you, hey, even halfway, do a matching 25,000 or something. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the solution.
The thing that I don't like looking at these two slides, we talked about the Culinary Arts program on the other page. Why isn't this right underneath it? Instead, we look at all this and then we go on the next page and we're looking at Culinary Arts. That should be broken down right under it, or don't even put it in there.
Okay, I can put it on the facilities department slide.
You know,
Yeah,
or
I mean, if
put
we
it
have-
right
Yeah.
there under Culinary Arts. It's like then you go to painting the hallways, the audio equipment, then we go back to the Culinary Arts.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, Linda has a point. Why are we doing culinary arts twice?
Then I wouldn't have needed to ask my question.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, why are we doing culinary arts twice?
You don't need to. We just show some pictures. We can remove the facilities department slide number 45, and take
Mhm.
that out.
Mhm.
And then we can just show the pictures of the high school locker rooms and family.
Well,
good
no,
summer
put the
time.
$50,000 in for the swing thing, because we do need to recognize that we're going to have to do that to be ADA compliant.
Right, I put it on slide 44, and I'm
Okay.
going to omit slide 45.
Right.
And then there's just pictures.
Yep.
And then slide 49 is Bill's general maintenance budget.
Mm-hmm.
There's the security department budget, just the change in programming, really, which is reflected in the budget.
Mhm.
And then we get into the appendix.
Okay.
So Danielle, I'll have Danielle scroll through.
wait a minute, this is, oh, this is. What are
So
we
this,
looking at with the numbers here? This I think is wrong.
so I asked Bob to take a look at what we budgeted for paras
This
over
is
the
the
years.
number of paras, okay, yeah, okay, yeah,
And then what did we actually end up with?
okay.
And so there's generally an increase in paras, obviously in 2020, a real increase in paras.
Mhm.
Um, But it seems that every year we budget for a certain amount of paras, and then a student moves in that requires a one-on-one assistance, and then that number ends up going up. So I just wanted to take a look at the fluctuation.
Okay, thank you.
And you can see, just like any other special ed cost, it goes up.
Mhm.
And I think so, a board member asked for the expiration dates on the contracts.
Okay,
And then cafeteria.
Mhm.
These numbers will be straightened out.
I was just gonna ask.
Yeah, it unstraightens itself when I put it on a presentation, so I'll just make sure I get that formatted.
I'm
It prints
sure-
one way and it appears on the presentation another way. It's just,
I know, I know, I've done battle with that myself.
that's it.
That's it. Okay, opening it up to the board for any recommendations, any comments, any? Any questions about the budget itself? Any questions about the presentation? Any comments on the presentation?
I think one thing that I think we should look at, not for this presentation, but at the next board meeting, and Melinda, I don't know if you have these numbers. Regarding the graduation rate,
Yep.
and again, because we have, let's just say, what's this year's class? 42 students, 46, something like that?
I don't have those numbers right in front of me. It's in the 40s.
So, I mean, I know it's 19%.
47.
What is it?
47, I believe.
So we're looking at what, 7 students roughly? Do we, I guess, question is do we know, are they general ed students? Are they students with IEPs? You know, I don't know. Is that something that we can find out?
So we do
It's
know.
it's not necessarily seniors, right? Doesn't it start with the incoming freshman class that's over 4 years? So
Yes.
that's how I
Right.
always thought it. I always thought it was like that, Tom. So we have say we have 100 students and 19 aren't going to graduate. You know, that's not how it is. They're looking at the trend over time. So if a lot of people moved out of town or left, it affects all of that. Am I correct in that?
You are, Bill, and we, Dr. Mayo did an analysis. I mean, the graduation rate is driving him crazy. So he did an analysis, and what it ended up coming out as is that we are failing students with disabilities, and we are failing students with low income. Those are the two subgroups that are not doing well, and those are the ones that are contributing to the poor graduation rate. And so hence he has been working hard to develop those pathways, because we've got to hook kids into school and get them into programming that they find meaningful, because some of these students, and you got to also understand what's going on here with the post, well, I don't know if it's post-pandemic, but these 2 years, we have students that are absolutely unmotivated to do their work. Remember that they were home. a half a year almost, and then many of them stayed out last year. We had the highest number of students that were in remote learning were out of the high school. And then coming back into school this year, they are just really hard to drag through, keeping them engaged, and their sense of effort is really lacking. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've never seen students at the middle and high school level, so many of them unmotivated. And so what they're trying to do is developing programs to kind of hook these kids back into their learning. And so that is all contributing to the graduation rate, but that isn't the only reason. There were some support systems that I was told that were in place that were not in place. And so here we are. We kind of unearthed what was going on, and now
I'm not
we're gonna
muted.
correct it.
But that's our whole town. That's our whole town is low income, and we have 26% special ed, so that's a quarter of our whole student population. So we have to do something to give them the correct services.
Right.
I didn't realize that it fell in those categories.
That's first
Well,
time.
he pulled apart all the data, and a couple of weeks ago called me and said, okay, these are the two subgroups we really need to focus on. And it just so happened that I'm not shocked at the SES or the special ed. I'm just shocked at the percent. It is negatively impacting graduation rates. So, and there were circumstances that, we didn't do a good job supporting these kids and catching them before the failure rates got so overwhelming that they would never be able to recover from it. Work that's going on this year, I'm very pleased, and I'm sure there are parents that are extremely pleased that the school is communicating regularly, having them in for meetings. Some of them might not be happy, but they are pulling them in and making them part of these learning plans that they're putting together. So some of these students are doing extra duty work, the intercession periods, although maybe some of the AP kids are unhappy. That was another way to close the gap, and it was also another way for some students to earn additional credits toward graduation. So I think Nate has the AP situation resolved. Those other programmings that he's putting in place, I think, are going to address the graduation rate. So Abby Consello, who is working on that is paid under the Alliance grant, I want her to come to the March board meeting to go over exactly what she's been doing, and to show you some data. Obviously, we're not going to give you kids' names, but we can tell you by grade level how many kids they've moved up to graduating with their class, which is, I think she's up over 20 kids now that she's gotten up to graduating with their class, which is huge. That's going to really save on the graduation rate. But Bill is right. They're looking at trends over time. And we've got to intervene now, make sure. That's why the high school team was up at QVCC today, developing courses and pathways, like a medical pathway. If somebody wants to be, a receptionist in the doctor's office, what kind of courses can we offer them? What kind of credits can they get free of charge at QVCC? And they graduate with more college credits. So they were there all morning working on that with QVCC. So I don't want to steal his thunder. I'll let him go over what he's been doing with the area colleges. But I think that's going to help a lot with the graduation rate.
Thank you. Valentine, you have your hand up. Val? Val, you still with us?
I am here. I'm sorry, I just couldn't push the button fast enough.
Okay.
Those are my same concerns. I think if that graduation number gets out without an explanation that is appropriate, it's going to be a problem. And I'm glad that the other board members had the same concerns as well. I'm actually kind of surprised by it, but there is a lot of things going on. I just think that whoever's going to answer to the public, if this gets out there, that they need to have their ducks in a row as to what they're going to respond with. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the Board of Education at this time? Or we have a couple of community members here with us tonight. If they would like to make a comment, citizens' comments at this time. Mr. Herbert.
The roughly 20% non-graduation number is unbelievably shocking to me. 1 out of 5 kids don't make it. But I do question if someone moves out of town, is that considered a failure to graduate? That would make the number kind of distorted to me. Could you help me out a little bit?
No. If they move in and they go to another district, that's adjusted. It is basically the students that sign themselves out or have their parents sign them out when they turn 17. And so we had a lot of that. We had some students go off to adult ed programs. They would sign out and then go off to adult ed programs, but that still negatively impacts our graduation rate. Then we had those few students, and this is what we really took a hit on, were those students that walked across the stage last year. And then we find out that they were supposed to come back in the summer and complete their programming. They didn't do it. So as a consequence, we had to take a hit in the graduation rate because they didn't finish.
Again, it's just,
Melinda.
1 out of 5 kids doesn't make it. That's really disturbing to me. I don't mean to say that we're failing, but boy, it's not a success for sure. Again, I'd like to make sure the numbers really reflect true non-graduation, and it sounds like there's some special circumstances where maybe it's not as bad as it sounds, but boy, it's a horrible number. The second question I had was on the para. I'm sorry to kind of cut you off, but on the para cost.
Yep.
I noticed that it just caught my attention that the difference between having, I don't remember the numbers, 33 paras and 28 paras looked like it was half the cost, but I think I saw why. The graph starts out with starts out at I think $400,000 or something, and therefore it doesn't look like it's no, it was before that. I think it was about the para spending or para cost. I think before that, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
That one, again, my first look at it was you had, let's take 2020 at 33 paras, and then it looks like, if you look at the size of the bar, it looks like the cost goes in half. But it's really because the first $400,000 doesn't show. But I don't know whether people catch that or not.
Mhm.
You understand what I'm trying to say? It looks kind of strange to me at first glance.
Yeah, I do see that. I don't know if that slide can be fixed. Bob, put this-
I mean, obviously, if you start at 0 instead of starting at 400,000, it would put it a little bit, at least
Yeah.
again, at first glance, if you do analyze a little bit, you realize what it's showing. But again, for me, that first glance, I said, holy cow, the bar is half the size, bar in 21 is half the size of the 2020 cost, and they only dropped 5 paras. So,
The scale.
but again,
it's just the
I understand
scale.
why it is what it is, and it's not a big
You
deal.
can just
like-
change the scale, Steve. That's no big deal.
Right, it's
You can,
a
instead of
scale,
having
and
4
again,
to
I don't know
7,
if it's a
you
big
can
deal
do
or
2
not,
to 7.
but it just caught my attention, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Again, the real issue though is the graduation rate. That's disturbing to me.
Yeah.
It's not really a budget issue, but it's just a fundamental
I'll get
issue.
I'll get the accurate numbers over the last 10 years and get that out to you this week.
Maybe maybe we could explain what those other alternatives are. Isn't maybe 100% people just not being able to finish, although certainly some of it is. If it's moving on to some other program that provides them a way to live life in a meaningful way with a decent education, great. But if it truly is kids going out into the world without at least a high school education, that's rough to me. It seems tough. It's unfortunate for our community, and I'm not sure whether Thompson's any different than anywhere else, but boy, it doesn't sound good to me. Sorry for my ranting there.
No, it doesn't sound good for us as well. just looking at it over time, it's a lot of processes that were not really in place. That's the end result of that. So now we're trying to correct that midstream this year. Well, we started off the school year right away trying to correct the failure rates. The failure rates have always been a goal of mine for the administrative team at the high school. It was part of the principal's evaluation. And I'm only good at, the data that I get. So now I'm getting clear, accurate data. I know what's happening with all those kids up at the high school specifically. So I will get those accurate numbers on graduation rate, but I do believe it was 81 point something percent. Was just released a week or two ago. We still have a window of time that they were trying to locate some students so that we could make a correction to the Department of Ed before those numbers became public. So we're working on that now. I think they did correct a couple. I don't know if it adjusted that at all. Some students, they didn't have, they went to another school or they moved and they had it miscoded. So I know Heather and her team was working with Nate to make sure that they had accurate data that went to the state before those final numbers were published. So definitely get what our final number was when they submitted that. I think they submitted it last week. So
as bad as that number sounds, it doesn't tell the whole story. You could have 5 or 6 students that moved away and didn't report back. They could be in a high school setting somewhere else, but didn't report to us. So it's not telling the whole story unless we know where they went. So as bad as 81% sounds, in all actuality, it could be 92%. We don't know. Correct?
Correct. And one student makes a hell of a difference in a small school, right?
Yeah,
one
right.
student
Right.
dropping out significantly impacts that number. So it's not necessarily 1 in 5, but when a student drops, and that's really the culture change. That's not acceptable. We can't allow kids not to graduate from Tritalot. They have to finish, and it's up to us to figure out how we're going to support them through the school year, or maybe even in the summer, to get them over the hump. So I'm very optimistic of the work that's happening now. I feel very confident in Nate and his team. And I think that we're turning the corner on getting a handle on what's been happening around how kids get to that point of no return. I think that's the biggest issue. How do they get to that point that, a plan hasn't been put in place for those kids? And it's not finger pointing, it's getting everybody on the same page to understand what the goal is.
Okay. Val, you wanted to say something again?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. First of all, I don't like that number one, and I know that there could be other factors. However, and I know I've asked this question before about the kids that we are losing because of this whole pandemic situation and who's tracking them, et cetera. I just don't understand what the system's in place, how we don't know if a kid leaves a district, he's gone for good, or if he's coming back and he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. I'd like to know who is tracking these kids, like whose job is it to track the kids that we can't put a finger on? And I know there's a lot of parameters and things that affect that. I get that. The other thing is I want to know, like, who's responsible for that? And when you know that someone, I can tell you, my mother worked in the school system for 25 years. She knew every kid and what happened and where they were and that type of thing. That was a long time ago. I get it. But the systems today are much better for us to be tracking these kids, to know if they are not coming to school, if they are not logging in for their classes, if they have moved out of the state, if they have gone over the border into another state from us, like a Massachusetts, or we should be knowing that. That's my opinion. Secondly, is there a number where the state will step in because of the threshold of where we should be graduating kids is that low? If that number gets out, does that impact anything relative to the state saying, hey, Why is this number so low? And if so, what's the process?
So hence we are an alliance district, and one of the variables is our graduation rate. We got into that mess we became an alliance district the first December I was here, and that was based on the trend of the graduation rate at that time. As far as the second part of your question, which was, it slipped my mind, Val, what was the second part?
Who is tracking these? Who is responsible to say if these kids are doing what they're supposed to, or if they're just being dropped off with the fact that somebody is not monitoring them in the way that the system should be monitoring them?
Well, so, that is a lot of the correction that's being made up at the high school now. Guidance should be tracking them. Meetings should be happening on a regular basis with families and the students. That work is happening this year. I don't have any explanation on how it got to be such a serious 911 emergency up there. I will say that how is the state monitoring this? Well, we're an alliance district, and we have a monitoring visit every quarter. As a matter of fact, I have another one in 2 weeks. And so they come, they review the data, they want to know exactly what the school is doing to correct that. So we are being monitored by the state. Being an alliance district means you're a turnaround district, right? So that monitoring the initiatives that you have in play to support students to graduate. So that is a lot of the work that's happening now. Remember that we were an in again, out again alliance district. We were designated alliance district 5 years ago, but yet the monitoring and the goal setting and all of that wasn't monitored and wasn't followed through. And so now they come out every quarter because they've given us $200,000 this year, and they want to see how their money's spent and how it's impacting students. And they are very pleased that all of the emphasis is up at the high school because the graduation rate being a serious variable, and one of the reasons that we're in as an alliance district. So we are being monitored and we are being tracked.
Thanks, Melinda.
I think more clarity will come when I have Dr. Mayo and Ms. Kinsella go over the practices that have been put into place to correct some of the work they've been doing this year. I think you'll be at least happy to see the data moving in the right direction.
Any further questions from anyone? Comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Hey, Kathleen,
Yes.
although we're not going to take a vote on it, there's no nothing that says Melinda can't go to Amy tomorrow and say it's more than likely until a vote, it's going to be 3.8, so she can get to work on her budget, correct?
Oh, that's true. And she needs to update Amy that we've increased the fuel price. And like she said, she's going to send her that.
I did already.
Yeah, well, you can give her that more than likely that they can put they could put that new number in their budget as a line item.
Okay.
More than likely, Bill, you'll need to run the meeting on the 28th.
That's fine. And unless Bill Birch comes back and says he's locked in at a number, more than likely we'll vote on whatever it is right now, right?
Right.
Okay.
And she
Kathleen,
can,
have you already prepared the agenda or for Monday?
no, it has not been, as far as I
Okay.
know.
I just want to make sure we do have that there's a vote on this Monday night, so we can get it done.
So Danielle will prepare that and have it posted, and for the 28th, I'll be 30,000 feet in the air.
I still remember how to do it.
I'm sure you do. I'm
Remember,
sure
you're
it
gonna,
won't
remember,
probably
you're
won't be
gonna be
a lot.
recorded, Bill. You're recorded.
I have all the faith in you. And to my husband, I'm still alive, enjoying sunny Florida. He's got the
Looks like
dogs.
he is too.
Is my dog, are my dogs alive?
Folks are still dead.
Enjoy the
All right.
storm on Friday, everyone.
Uh,
I need a motion, Kathleen.
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Jess made the motion.
I'll second it. This is
Linda seconded it.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, opposed? I don't think any opposition. Okay. Everybody have a good one.